Didn't know my head handed a key. I had lost myself. What a gift for me. Started quickly. You drown myself and pulled me out. Wrapped your wings around my body just to help me out. All this fire, all these flames, take my breath, keep it safe. All this fire. All these flames, take my breath and keep it safe. Shade me from the light. Your blood beckons inside my body. It forms a rock.
but I'd like to talk about Glissando, which was, if I'm not mistaken, the first band that you released on Giza.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I want to talk about Glissando is on the blog I have a series of posts called The Long 100, where I write about 100 albums that I'm glad that I heard. And I heard Glissando, I guess, around 2007, 2008, when I was first discovering a lot of drone and ambient kind of music. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm mostly a metal guy.
Okay. Cool.
And so I am somewhat familiar with bands like Godspeed and Explosions in the Sky and stuff like that, but I'm not
Yeah.
really from that world. Really for me, it was I spent most of my high school and college years listening to death metal and eventually discovering stuff like Neurosis and through bands like that.
Okay. Cool.
Finding my way to drone and experimental music and various noise things.
Yeah.
Um,
Same for me actually. Yeah. Kind of similar.
Yeah, and so I discovered Glissando around the same time I was listening to bands like Earth and actually Nadia, strangely enough, and not really knowing what to make of this kind of music. And so, With Our Arms Wide Open, I think was the first album that I heard, and it opened a lot of doors for me in the sense that this was music that I would not describe as heavy in the way that we speak about metal or punk or rock music as heavy, but had a kind of an emotional weight to it, even when not using guitars or traditional rock instrumentation. And I think obviously with a lot of the stuff that you did with Giza and with what Aiden Baker is doing with his own solo projects, I kind of found myself dabbling in and out of that world because of bands like Glissando that I heard at that time.
Yeah. Cool.
Um,
That's thanks.
yeah. So let's talk about Glissando. How did you form, and what did you guys set out to accomplish?
Well, we formed, as I was saying earlier, in the early 2000s, really. With just as I explained before, just out of that the love for that kind of music that I was describing, we decided to just have a go at making something and see where that would take us. There was never really any big long term plan or anything like that. But also when we started out, we really didn't know how to play our instruments or any of that kind of thing. So we just evolved over the years, learning how to play and how to record and yeah, as I said, making friends and just learning all the aspects of being in a band and making music and seeing how other people do things and yeah, we just kept going really. I think we really started that project at a time where like there's no one really making that kind of music. We got tagged with like the Cocktail Twins thing a little bit. So, but obviously coming at it from a more drone or post rock kind of angle. And we did some interesting stuff. We had a bunch of guys that we played live with as well. So the live setup we could do as a duo, or often we took like a full band with drums and stuff with us as well. So even back then, there was a real nice sort of idea of being flexible and making the live thing different from the records. And yeah, and I think it was a time where people were starting to dig a little bit into that kind of music. There wasn't a lot of it around, and people seemed to really like what we were doing. We managed to tour quite a few times. Yeah, like I say, we were just learning our craft really, and trying to do as much with it as possible. And yeah, it was good. It was a nice band to be in. We were living in Leeds back then. We had a bunch of friends who were all playing music and starting to form bands and things as well. So we got to tour a bit and play music with our friends. So that was cool. But yeah, it seems like a long time ago now. I mean, we've not done anything for I don't know, like 8 years or something maybe. A long time. So yeah, I guess we won't do anything else in the future. I guess. yeah, it's interesting that you picked up on that first album. You know, if it's being linked to bands like Earth and so on is quite cool. Um, yeah, I'll take
Well,
that.
I mean I mean to be fair, I didn't have a lot of background on that kind of music, and so it's one of those things where if you have 2 points, you make a line. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. That's
And so
cool. That's a
without
good line to make that, I think.
yeah, I mean so without knowing too much about who you guys are or what background you came from, it was easy for me to compare it to something like Earth or Godspeed You Black Emperor because I really had no idea. I mean now I'm a little bit more schooled and I know about stuff like Glenn Branca and you know even some of the old krautrock bands that were doing ambient stuff.
Mm.
But back then it really was like if it came out on Relapse or some kind of metal label like that, I would probably know about it.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know
um,
what you mean. I mean, when I started to get into labels like Hydra Head and Epicac and these kind of labels, it was the same. Just you, it's a perfect example of the record label having that role in shaping people's tastes. You know, if it came out on Hydra Head, I'm buying it. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
and I think that's cool. And I'm not sure if you know, I'm not sure if people trust labels as much these days as they used to do, but I still feel like labels have got that role as like a taste maker. You know, there's so much music out there and so much music available for people to discover. It's just too much. You know, it's where do you begin? So I still feel like labels still have a good role to play. You know, like if Thrill Jockey are releasing a new record, I'll go and check it out. You know, yeah, I still see that as important. You know, like you said about Relapse. You know, they put their stamp on it. You trust them. That's cool.
We all look to the same sky and the same stars burn.
So we should mention that your collaborator in Glissando was Ellie Mae Irving.
Yeah.
How did you meet her?
At school, actually. Yeah, at school, and then we became we became a couple at school in high school, and then just started making music together. You know, after that, really, we spent a lot of time together, and we were both getting into the same kind of music, and like I say, we just decided to start to do something, and yeah, we managed to pull it off and do something interesting, I think.
So there was a change from the first Glissando release, which was Loves Are Like Empires, right?
Yeah.
To With Our Arms Wide Open, in the sense that the first one was much more drony and I would say less structured, whereas With Our Arms Wide Open, it seemed like you guys were embracing more traditional instrumentation, and specifically the way the vocals were used were much more in a traditional songwriting sense. What was the change? What led to the change?
I think the main change was Ellie becoming more confident in her voice and learning to play piano better, just improving and being more confident. in the way she was playing, and she began to craft songs, or more, well, loosely based songs, certainly more structured material. So I think it was just a natural evolution, really. I was exploring more pedals and atmospheric side of things. So I think the two things combined was like, we hit upon it's kind of a new direction, I guess. I'm not sure we really had a direction in the first place. We were just kind of making noise and making things that we liked, and then after a while we were like, oh, actually we can play these things, and I think it just naturally evolved into our skill levels had improved, which therefore allowed us to craft more structured material, I think. And I think that continued again into the album after that. I think that's even more composed than With Your Arms Wide Open. So yeah, I think that's the basis of it, I think.
So you touched on this a little bit, but the last Glissando album that you put out was The World Without Us, which came out in 2012. It's a fantastic album. I listed it as one of my best of that year, and I think the way I described it is you guys managed to sound fragile and apocalyptic at the same time. And what I mean by that is, there's especially with Ellie Mae's voice, which it can sound quite vulnerable at times, but with the music around her, especially, I think it's the song The Long Lost?
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where, when the music swells around her vocals, like, there is this sense that things are ending, and, when I say apocalyptic, I mean kind of what I was talking about before, in the sense that it's heavy, not in the traditional rock sense, but in an emotional sense. It feels like the listener is being overwhelmed. And there's a sense that you guys had learned to develop the dynamics of the songs, and kind of what I mean in a more traditional songwriting sense. The way there's a push and pull between the quiet and the loud in a way that really wasn't present on your earliest recordings.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the writing of that album and the headspace you guys were at when you put those songs together.
Yeah, it was a weird time writing that album, because we basically went through we basically broke up around the time we were writing that record, so that certainly adds to the emotional kind of weight, I guess, around that album, and the intensity comes from we were struggling at that time, and we were trying to put this record together and breaking up and so on. So yeah, there's certainly a lot of that energy was fed into the recording, and I think you can certainly feel that in the record as well. Yeah, the process was, apart from what I just described, the process was kind of reasonably usual. We recorded everything ourselves at home. We had a few friends come in to add some strings and some extra vocals. Yeah, it just felt like that was, in my opinion, the best work that we've done. I still think it stands up. I still think it's a good album. Yeah, I think we just kind of hit on a particular energy and atmosphere at a particular time, and we managed to harness that into a record. I think I'm really pleased we managed to get it out and release it, because I think what we went through at that time, I don't think many people would have come out of the other side of it with a record. So it was quite nice to be able to work through that, and yeah, just make music, and the music came out to be intense and heavy and quite beautiful in places as well. Just the product of what we were going through at that time, and what we've been through over the previous 9 or 10 years, I guess, as well.
I don't know how comfortable you are speaking about this, but my my experiences being in bands, it often feels like, and I've been in all male bands, but it often feels like being in a relationship or being in a marriage with,
Mm-hmm.
three other people, and frequently breakups. When bands break up, it feels like an emotional or a relationship breaking up. There's there's that same sense of heartbreak and resentment and things like that.
Yeah.
And without knowing too much about the lyrics or the I guess the underlying issues of the album, it does feel like an album about endings. It feels like an album about things falling apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it is. It is. We knew the relationship was done. We knew the band was going to be done. But we managed to work through that to be able to put together a record. We did some touring as well around that time. So it wasn't really like a hostile, angry kind of breakup of the band or our relationship. It was just more things had reached their natural conclusion, I guess, and we could see that coming, and so that made it easier from that point of view in terms of finishing the record, because it wasn't like we couldn't stand to be around each other or any of that kind of stuff. We were still getting along fine. It was just like, things run their course sometimes.
yeah. How do you look back on those albums now?
Yeah, I'm proud of them. I think, yeah, I'm not sure really. I don't think about them too much. I think we did the best job we could on both of those records of where we were at. I think certainly with The World Without Us came out way better than I think either of us ever imagined it would. So yeah, I think we made some good music. We did some nice shows, and also all the music that I was making back then, it all feeds into everything that I'm doing now. You learn as you're going along, and you look at the mistakes that were made, and the things you did well, and take them into the next thing, and keep progressing with it all. But yeah, I certainly don't reminisce on those albums. I don't really think about them very often. I'm pleased we managed to I'm more of a forward looking person, to be honest, and I'm looking, right, what am I doing next? What do I need to do tomorrow? What am I doing this afternoon? I'm never really reflecting too much on previous things, just making the next thing better than the last, keeping things interesting and moving forward as much as possible with everything.
And speaking of moving forward, before I let you go, what's next for you?
Next is the new Cinemator album. So we're kind of deep into rehearsals and preparing the live set for that. That's out on September 13th, and then there's one or two kind of sporadic shows before that. Then we go on tour to Europe for a couple of weeks, and then some more sporadic shows, and then we've got another tour in February, I think. I'm just looking to see what's possible next year. Trying to tour this record as much as possible. Yeah, that's taking up quite a bit of focus. There's a few releases coming up on the label that need some attention. Working with my screen printing business as well. Trying to just juggle all those things and keep surviving. That's the name of the game.
And do you want to tease any of the albums that Gizo might be releasing at the end of this year or maybe the beginning of next year?
Well, we've just announced there's a new Richard Knox live soundtrack that's just done with a hang player called Torsten Botcher, and that's coming out in October. There is a record which is either going to be November or December. We're not quite decided yet, which we've not announced yet, but two guys who you have featured on your podcast are both involved in this album. So
exciting.
I'll leave that there. You can you'll find out in due course, but I think you'll be excited by that one.
I'm sure I will.
You personally, maybe not, but you.
I'm sure lots of people will be excited.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's a really interesting one. It's something a little bit different for the label. So yeah, I'm excited for that one.
And if people want to find your music, how can they do that?
The label is GizehRecords.com. That's Gizeh, not the geezer that you alluded to earlier.
Not Geezer Butler.
No, exactly. And my own music, artwork, and so on. My own website is slowsecret.com, and we're on all the usual social media nonsense. We're on all of it.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I don't think so. Just appreciate the interest, and thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Richard.
Cool. Cheers, Adrian. Speak to you soon.